Well, my next guest on Dave's Home Supply getting up to speed was the 2017 European Le Mans Series champion, along with the Ismo Lights L1 title winner in 2013. He's got a lot of road course and pavement experience, but in the last few years has converted to dirt sprint car racing. That's Sean Rayhall, who now calls home Fremont, Ohio, next on the line after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. Joining me is a very distinguished guest, in which I'm really excited for this one because he's got such a big road racing background, but is also pretty good when it comes to a sprint car. That's Sean Rayhall out of Fremont, Ohio, who piloted the Prosser Racing number 19 in 2023. And Sean, it's a pleasure to have you on board.
Hey man, great to talk to you. Great to be here.
Well, 2023, I guess we'll start with talking about some sprint car stuff. 24 feature starts on the year, eight results in the top 10 column, but a top 5, a 5th place finish at Tri-City Raceway Park in Franklin, Pennsylvania on August 20th. That wasn't too bad of a run. That's some pretty tough country to compete in. How would you say your season went, kind of just from your own eyes?
Absolute disaster.
Oh, no. Okay.
I mean, so I had a lot of speed at the end of last year. We were kind of fighting for wins, rolling off the trailer when I was running my own program with Buzz Lions. And me and Prosser, we hit it off on from the get-go when we went out to Central PA, and we had some good runs. And it just kind of, in a way, fell apart from there. I'm pretty black and white, for better or worse. But this is probably with all the sponsorship we actually had and everything that we had lined up for this year, this is probably the biggest disaster of the year possible. So we actually split. I want to say it was end of August, early September. Yeah, it was end of August when they let me know. And they wouldn't let me announce. So actually one of those top 10s, I had to, because they wouldn't let me announce that we were breaking up or splitting up, however you call it. I actually had to get my wife to help me at the shop, get everything ready to go run one of those top 10s that we ran at Atomic. Okay. And we literally took a friend of ours that's never been to a sprint car race before to help. And then I did all the work on the car. So now we're kind of in a good place going into next year. We got, a new crew chief in, Glenn Evans. He's been with TJ Michael for past couple of years. He's doing a great job for us. We had a good run going at Wayne County before we got taken out a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we're kind of in the rebuild process and just organizing Sean Rayhall Motorsports.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like that's it's unfortunate when teams split, but things happen, right? Naturally, things don't last forever, but that you've already kind of got a plan in place, and it sounds like an exciting one.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. This year should, in my opinion, a lot better. But it's kind of like you said, it just wasn't a good fit. To be the nicest and most diplomatic about it, wasn't a good fit. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to kind of move on. And I ended up with Glenn Evans. He actually I knew him when he was 12 years old and I was 14, 15, run legend cars. So it's kind of a coming back home kind of factor in regards to that, and circling back around and having him on board, and then, having him really worry about, how comfortable I am rather than what he thinks is the fastest is important. And we were really good right out the gate. So only looking to get better from here.
Well, I want to know a little bit more about the story of the the crew help that you had of somebody that had never been to a sprint car race, was that a enjoyable and eye-opening experience, or was it an eye-opening experience and not so enjoyable?
I can tell you this. I'm not from sprint car racing. I work my ass off.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing that was an eye opener was, hey, I can run top 10 doing this all by myself.
Sure.
You know, and a statement that was said to me was, hey, we built 8 cars in this amount of time, blah, blah, blah. Well, 2 of them weren't my fault. One was my fault, if you would call it that, but I ran the cushion the same way when the car was set up properly and I didn't flip. So however you want to, dice that up. It was a realization that I need to be able to have fun with it. By fun for me as an individual, that means things need to be organized, things need to be on kill, and, there just shouldn't be any charades.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's funny, out of the year that I had compared to last year with Buzz, the going to the track by myself up until I just went with Glenn at Wayne County, was the most relaxed I'd been.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had to change everything. I had to do everything. I mean, the guy that I brought with me, Rocky, great friend, great dear person. But I even had to hook the engine heater up because he didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, like, that gives you kind of the basis for it. But it just shows you how, I guess, good something can be and how toxic something could be at the same time.
Well, I mean, we do this because we love it, right? And when it comes to a point where we're not enjoying ourselves and it feels like it's quote unquote a job, that's when you get in, at least for me, that's when it gets into some dangerous ground.
Yeah. And I mean, so a little background on how all this was built. I sold my condo that I made with all the road course money that I was making back in the day. I sold that to buy my first 410 from Scotty Thiel.
Okay.
So all this has been like worked for in the road course community besides for the sponsorship, and put together through hard work. Like, it's not easy, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, for you got to get on planes every week and do this and that. But it's not an easy life I live. My wife spends half her days away from me, and that's a big deal. And landing off a plane to go drive a sprint car isn't the easiest gig in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a lot of heart and a lot of effort into building this whole deal. And when you can't share it with people who admire that, or how do I say it? Respect that.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes quite a tough road. So I think the thing I noticed most, I missed Fuzz this year, obviously, when I was struggling and through different situations. And, now that I'm kind of at home with Glenn, and, Fuzz it's a nice deal because Glenn respects Fuzz and Fuzz respects him. So he's like, hey, this is what makes Sean comfortable. And everyone's getting me up to speed pretty quickly. And we kind of hit the ground running, win a heat race by like a straightaway. First night out, it's like, man, that just feels good. And then at the end of the day, everyone's just like smiling, happy when we load it on the trailer. So that's definitely a refreshing feeling.
Well, you mentioned, sprint cars isn't your predominant background, and just looking at your background, it is very, very multidiscipline. You're from the Atlanta area, Winston, Georgia, and you've got Legends Racing under your belt. You've got single-seater Formula Enterprise underneath your belt. Sprint karts is where you started at. And then you ventured into stock cars with the USRA Pro Cup Series and the UARA Stars Series. And then it went to road racing with the American Le Mans Series, the European Le Mans Series. I mean, wow, it's it's just amazing at all the things that, and successfully all the things that you were able to do.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you look at it. Sprint car racing I've been doing for three years now, and it's the only thing I haven't been able to do successfully. But we're working on that. We're working on
it. It's a challenge, right?
Yeah. I mean, me and Mike Linder were talking. It is so much the people. The people that you are surrounding yourself by, and I feel like unfortunately, we ran out of fuel leading last year at Tri-City. We led 28 out of 30 laps, and we ran out of fuel. We started running out of fuel at lap 22. And it's just so hard, man. I lost that race to AJ Flick, and God knows how many races he's won out there. But
sure,
it's so much harder than anything I've ever done before. And then I'd say outside of that, like not coming from dirt, just exploits another challenge that I have. Being able to read the track, read what I want. I was very lucky. I wasn't lucky in the beginning with the first guy I started sprint car racing with, but I was really lucky with Fuzz, that all he cared about was making me comfortable, and the guy drove himself nuts just to make sure I could go out there and run as hard as I want to. But I think more goes into sprint car racing than any other type of motorsports. And I think a lot of the fans, as well as sponsors, don't necessarily realize how much that amount is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and something that is interesting is, and this isn't any disrespect to the upper echelons, but who's going to show up predominantly, right? You have contracted drivers that are committed to the series, and occasionally you'll have reserve drivers come in and what have you. But with sprint car racing, you roll into Tri-City, you roll into Atomic, Wayne County, Attica, Fremont. Kind of who's going to be there, but you don't know who all is going to show up, because if there's a big race a couple hours away that rains out, all those cats are going to show up, and that sometimes can make things more challenging, more harder, perhaps. So,
I think I said it the other day. Someone was talking to me about it, and they're like, it's going to take a while to learn. Like, look how many years it took you to learn road course racing. And I was like, it took 0.
Mm-hmm.
I just instantly learned it. Like I was a natural at that gifted gap, if you will. And the difference is you show up to any local race in the country in 2023 and going in next year, 2024, there's 10 guys that could win.
Sure.
Right. So I've been doing this. 2024 will be year 4. At that point, I've been doing it 4 years. Everyone else has been doing it about a decade. I'm pretty quick. Like, I qualify really well. I usually heat race well. When I don't have unfortunate circumstances, I'm usually a top 10 guy. If there's no problems with the car or anything. But with that being said, now take those numbers and then put it against guys with 10 decades of experience that should also be able to win that race. And it makes it really difficult, but it's also kind of my high of why I love it. I love the fact that the first time I went to a sprint car race, I looked at the guy next to me and I'm like, well, I should be able to beat that guy. He's in overalls. And I got my ass kicked. He won the A main and I finished dead last in the B main. That's the story of my first ever sprint car race.
Yeah.
It was Kurt Davis up in Wisconsin in the safe sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I looked over, saw he was in overalls. I was in my factory Delta wing suit, from the road course deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And straight up got my ass kicked. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And I looked at that and studied that, and that's why I love sprint car racing. It is a tough sport. It does takes a million things to make a night go right. Even when you call a night gone right, like, it isn't. There's a million mistakes. They're just minimized.
Well, something that I'm really interested to know about how this story story goes is 2017, you win the European Le Mans Series with victories at Circuit Paul Ricard in France and Silverstone in England. And then 2018, you retire. And then all of a sudden, 2020, which was a crazy year in general, Sean Rayhall decides to go sprint car racing. What was the interest, or what lured you to that discipline of racing?
So you want to call, everyone says timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, timing ended up being the worst for this part. TJ Michael, a good buddy of mine, called me up, was like, hey, come drive my sprint car. My deal and Tim didn't work out for me to drive his sprint car, and I'd already landed some sponsorship for that to go race sprint cars. So I called a guy in Wisconsin that did a rent-a-ride deal, went through this whole scheme of things, and then was like, at the end of the year, was like, hey, I'm going to buy a 410. And Scotty Keel helped me out, and this, that, and the other. So, sure enough, it's like, all right, cool. We got this much sponsorship primed. We're going to go 410 racing. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. Then COVID hits. And there's no racing to, be found. To, go get laps, to go do anything. So, Terry McCarl, good buddy of mine now, but funny story is he puts on that race at Park Jefferson, and Scotty hooked me up and was like, because I was like, hey, I need laps,
sure,
anywhere I can race, we'll go race.
Yeah, and they had a capped entry, right? Only so many guys could race, right?
Yeah, and I met the Invitational because of what I've done in road course stuff.
Okay.
So Terry was like, Terry.
Yeah.
He is a hell of a wheel man. In my opinion, one of the best guys in the pits, but also he's a hell of a promoter. So he's like, yeah, we got to get this guy out.
Sure.
Without knowing me. I didn't know him at the time either. So I was like, cool. That guy said, okay, so we're going. And that was my first time in a 410. So I'm just trying to get out of my own way, realistically. And, from there, the team that I was with at the time, or the guy, he hadn't ran a 410 in, I want to say 2 decades, so 20 years, and closed the motor up second night when we went to Jackson. And then I'm racing a 360 for the first half of the year while I'm waiting on the 410 to get rebuilt. Obviously, COVID made a shortage with parts. It was a whole shit show. We were living, my poor wife, newly married, are living in a travel trailer in Wisconsin, putting in a MSA 360, which isn't even an ASCS 360. It's like a 500 horsepower motor. And against IRA sprint competition, which is 900 horsepower 410. We're living in a travel trailer, doing this whole deal kind of pretty organically and just working our tails off to try to get somewhere. And I'm like, man, this is a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. But, it's what I love. So can't complain about that.
And then you win the IRA Rookie of the Year, correct? In 2020. And then when was it when you guys started racing religiously in the Ohio area? Would that be 21, 22?
That was 2021. So I was in the deal I was in wasn't really going anywhere. We had a bunch of problems and started to become problems that were causing me to wreck, like throttle hanging up, stuff like that, which obviously isn't ideal. So I called Hunter Schuenberg, and Hunter Schuenberg hooked me up with Fuzz Lions, and I moved everything out of the shop up there that was mine into a truck and trailer. I bought a trailer from Brandon Spithaler, a truck, whatever truck you could find in 2021, like a Dodge. And me and my wife at the time, my father-in-law couldn't stand the fact of us living in a trailer, so to speak. So he bought us an RV. So we drove the RV and all the stuff to a parking lot in Milwaukee. I had to go fly to Austin, Texas to coach at Circuit of the Americas and Radical Cup.
Okay.
And then when I came back, Fuzz was hired. He just left McKenna-Hassey at the time. Fuzz drove up from Ohio. My wife jumped in this car, or in his truck. He jumped in the truck and trailer, and then I drove the RV. We went to Indy race parts, unloaded the entire trailer, sorted through what Fuzz was going to keep using, what I needed to sell, what I needed in order to run a program, and then literally moved into a shop in Ohio, and I think we ran like ninth that was on a Monday, and then we ran like 9th or 10th at Attica on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a pretty wild turn of events in regards to the timeline and getting going in Ohio. But I think, I don't know whether it was because TJ knew me or I don't know what it was, but I came to Ohio and it kind of felt like home. I had an option to move to Central Pennsylvania next year, and I really looked at it as a big career opportunity. But I look back at how everyone treated me here, and the only thing I really could complain about Ohio is the guys need to do a little bit more track work to make a little bit racier track sometimes. But it's a really good ambiance here. It's really good people. I'm really grateful to, I guess, been accepted into the local community here. Well, and that's why my wife just bought a house in Fremont for us, and we're moving up there and kind of making a long-term deal.
Awesome. Yeah. Home of Fremont Speedway, the track that Action built. And it's got a great vibe and a great scene where you've got lots of options. You've got Sharon in the East, and they do a lot of Wednesday night stuff. And you've got the Ohio Valley Sprint Car Association, the Attica Fremont Championship Series, Fast on Dirt, and then also Atomic runs some local shows, Wayne County, and it's not too far to go into Western Pennsylvania as well, or even if you want to go west as well and catch some stuff. And you guys have ran a lot this year with a lot of different various series, including the All-Star Circuit of Champions. So there's definitely no shortage of places that you can find racing at in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And real thankful to Chris Wells as well. I called him when me and Prosser kind of had our breakup, and was like, "Hey, can I rent some shop space?" And he said, "Don't worry about rent. Pay me when you get some money, but like ultimately, just my shop's yours." Mm-hmm. So it gave me a quick, easy, not a way out, but just a friend being there.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. And have you obviously going to be doing your own program next year? Have you guys started to piece together what races you guys would like? Are you going to be dedicated to anything specific as far as a points championship, or just going to kind of see what happens when all the schedules come out in the next couple months?
I think we're a little bit, I would say, we're definitely going to run locally. Attica and Fremont as much as possible because it's local to us. We have a potential partner signing on board that might need us to run in Tennessee a couple of times. Besides for that, me and Glenn have talked about, when I'm road course racing, because I'm going to have to do 5 of those races with Polecat Training Center's owner, Paul Arnold, who's a head sponsor of us, and it's just been great to me in regards to my business life and kind of facilitating my life outside of sprint car racing. So we're going to do a couple races down there in Tennessee, I think, as long as this partnership comes through. Mm-hmm. And we might also, like, if there's a race at Road America that I have to do, we might also run like IRA on those weekends. But right now everything's pretty fluid. I just know I got the guys that I want around me right now. And we're kind of waiting to see what schedules come out. And I think more importantly ironically than the sprint car schedule is the road course schedule that needs to come out.
Sure.
And that series that we're running has yet to be announced, but I know it's in the works and it's going to happen. So just kind of playing those cards kind of a little bit close and waiting to see what that schedule is in order to dictate where we're going to run and how we're going to run. We know we have the proper sponsorship to run 45 sprint car races locally, with a really solid program for the first time. Like the first time, by the first time, I mean like the first time we can run that comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of this has been me. I wouldn't call it robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of deal, but like go coach at a road course race, take all that money in my LLC and move that into the sprint car racing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to keep it going, to keep a dream alive. So now we're finally got enough sponsorship aligned to just for the sponsorship to pay for it, which is obviously ideal. It takes a little bit of the weight off my shoulders. And, you know, I would say, you know, I love Fuzz to death, but we're in probably one of the best situations that we could be going into next year, which is good friends, good people, and people that know what they're doing.
Well, I'm going to be praying for everything that I've got that when you're racing, it's going to be streamed and televised. And I hope that I'm able to catch, and I hope that this is next year that you get a win, because I just want to see your reaction and because I know, no doubt if you guys are able to do something and perform that feat, that it's going to be wild and crazy, champagne and caviar for sure, because you've been working so hard at this, and it'll be definitely an achievement. And I don't want to you know, say that it's going to be one of your biggest achievements in motorsports, but it definitely will be, for me at least, that it's got to, I would imagine it would feel like it's a top tier.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a shot here. And it's honest, and some people might not like to hear it if anyone from Road Course listens to this podcast, but I think, to me, I've won an Indy Lights. I've been a Chip Ganassi IndyCar test driver. I've won at Le Mans. I've won IMSA races. Winning in a sprint car, to me, tops all those, just because of the drivers that I'm competing against and how highly I rate those drivers in the world spectrum of things. So meanwhile, I've ran second in sprint car races, but I haven't won.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, to touch on what you said, it'll definitely be my greatest achievement yet.
That's awesome. That's totally cool. And that was something I was going to ask, is with all the disciplines that you've raced, and you've ran all sorts of different configurations of tracks, what is it? How would you compare it with a sprint car? Is a sprint car completely in a different category than an Indy Light, than in a sports car going full throttle at, you know, Silverstone or Circuit Paul Ricard or Monza?
I think my best replica of that would be, you took David Beckham off a soccer field,
mm-hmm.
and you gave him basketball, and you put Jordan and LeBron out there, and you said, okay, go school. What's going to happen?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
I mean, like, honestly, look at, you know, a lot of the guys from the road course, they don't understand all the dynamics that go into dirt racing. And a lot of guys from dirt racing don't understand the dynamics that go into road course racing.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you took any pro faller and you put them in a complete different discipline, there's nothing that relates. Like, the only thing that relates is that we're racing, and the first person that crosses the finish line obviously wins.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How we drive the cars, completely different. Like, I'll back it up and say that, like, the first time I ever did a throttle or speed adjustment with the pedals after turning for the corner is in a sprint car. So everything we do on asphalt before the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge change. Having the car yawing sideways, that's obviously changed, because on asphalt we're always trying to correct. We want to keep the car straight. So that's a big deal. And then on top of all that, you know, the only thing that really relates, and I only see it whenever I'm at a half mile, is the aero on the car.
Mm-hmm.
I do have, I honestly, the only thing I can say I have an advantage in sprint car racing is aero wash. And that's because the different diffusers off of Porsches, Lambos, Ferraris, you name it, that was in sports car racing when we were in multi-class racing, you'd have to judge all that on the prototype and know what that feels like and be able to manipulate it. So for hours and hours and hours at a time, I was dealing with different kinds of aero wash and having to respond to it, not just the same kind. So the only thing that really relates that I could really make a small parallel in is the fact of aero wash and when when another car in front of you takes the air off you and how to judge that and how to respond to that. And the main place I see that's half miles.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's just crazy and mind-boggling still to me, still to this day at some places when it's, you see the vapor trails. Like it just throws me off still. Like, because where I'm from, there isn't a lot of big tracks, and they're quarter mile, third mile bull rings. And so when you get to see the big tracks, and especially notably like in central Pennsylvania, especially this time of the year in the fall, and it's kind of, there's moisture in the air a little bit with the temperature dropping. It's pretty sensational to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, wonderful. It's been great to catch up with you, Sean, and I'm really looking forward to, and most definitely we'll be staying in touch. Before we wrap things up and let you go for the day, any special individuals? And I know you've mentioned several people. I mean, your lovely wife definitely is top notch, to say the least, and I haven't even met her. But any individuals that you want to thank, or any sponsors or marketing partners that you want to give a shout out real fast?
Yeah, for sure. Able Roofing, which is actually my father-in-law. Big shout out to him. AEI, C6 Auto Body, Chris Furry. He's been a long-term partner since he actually met us when we first came to Ohio at West Virginia Motor Speedway when we were running the Fast Series. Quality Freight Rate, Matt Bull. We really appreciate him and all his efforts. Our newly signed partner, Polecat Training Facility, which is a place that I work at. And if you ever want to do a road course driving school, you can find me at. It's kind of what I do on the side, and also how I help make sure their programs are breeding the best road course drivers in the country. HRX USA, Shell Shock, or Rye Helmets. And realistically, there's, Indy race parts, Kistler racing parts, Gressman Power Sports racing engines. There's been a lot of people to give me a big hand in all this, and me being able to continue to chase what I love, and then naming drivers, Cap Henry, Scotty Thiel, Hunter Schuenberg. There's been a lot of drivers that have lent a helping hand as well. And to be honest, I'm just grateful that I've been accepted into this, into this very tight niche community, and can call like people like Rich Farmer for advice, or Mike Linder for advice. Mm-hmm. Buzz Lyons, Bernie Stugent from Indy Race Parts, that means the world to me. I didn't, I feel like I've earned this through hard work, but I don't feel like I've been around here long enough to earn what I've got in regards to the respect and the help from people. And I hope they know I greatly appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And is I might have asked this, I can't remember, but your friend Rocky, is Rocky, even though Rocky didn't know how to hook up a motor heater, is Rocky converted to a sprint car fan or a dirt fan, or still on the fence?
No. He's completely all in. He just he has a lot going on in his life, and essentially Rocky's kind of a descent of C6 Auto Body and Chris Furry. He has a lot going on in his life, and he wishes he could commit to doing it full time and learning how to be a tire guy. But Rocky Diesel can't, unfortunately. So he'll be there and come support a couple races next year, but he won't be able to be full time, unfortunately.
Okay. And And for when the schedule comes out for you of the races, is there a good place like a website or a social media page that folks can look at?
Yeah, I'm hoping by January 1st I'll have my website all fixed. But for now, if you follow me at Sean Rayhall on Twitter or Instagram, and then Sean Rayhall on Facebook.
Okay. And then
and that's Sean with S-E-A-N and Rayhall, not like Bobby, Rayhall.
Correct. Yeah. And then for apparel, is there a way that folks can get sweatshirts or T-shirts, or is there going to be an apparel run for you?
There will be an apparel run. Right now, we're trying to sell the rest of the stuff, the gear from this year off, which you can just find me on social media, tell me you want something, and I'll get in touch with you through direct message and make it happen. Next year, hopefully everything's going to be website-based and then track-based.
Okay.
So that's something we're working on. And sorry that it's not like an instant thing, but, you know, I have a toter home right now that's at Freightliner getting inspected. I got a couple of deals I'm managing in road course from drivers I manage in, as well as programs that I manage. So it's kind of been a hectic couple months with this move. So hopefully by December we'll just be able to calm down and get all the little things sewn up.
Hey, good things take time, right?
Yeah, yes they do.
Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and hear your story. And we'll definitely, like I said, we'll definitely be staying in touch and probably try and grab you sometime in 2024, kind of check in and see how things are going.
Awesome, man. Sounds like a plan.
Well, that is going to do it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure and hit the like and subscribe button on whatever platform you found this interview at. It really helps us grow the channel, and we greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, we'll be back with more content and interviews in the future. Be sure and have a great evening or a great rest of your day, whatever time you're listening.